Your phone is not why you can't focus, and I know that's not what you've been told, and there's this whole movement around deleting apps, setting time limits and screen time and putting your phone in another room. And look, I've tried all of it, I really did. I had grayscale screen on my phone for like 3 weeks, I deleted Instagram for 2 weeks, I put my phone away in a different room, I even bought this Amazon locker and I put my phone in it, but none of that fixed anything in a long-term way because the problem was never really the phone. And at the end of this video, I'll give you 7 different ways to instantly fix your focus forever. Things that probably no one really talks about. So what I started noticing, not right away, but over time, was that my inability to focus wasn't about distraction in the way that I thought it was. Like, I thought that focus was this thing that showed up if I just removed enough stuff. Like, get rid of distractions and then focus appears. That's sort of the logic that everyone works with. But what I found, and this actually took quite a while to really see, was that my brain was not running towards the phone. It was running away from whatever I was supposed to do at the moment. And that's a completely different thing, because when you have something that you're running away from, removing the things that you're running towards too doesn't really do much. You'll basically just find something else to run to, and that's what I was doing as well. I'd get rid of my phone and then suddenly I really needed a snack, or I'd start cleaning something that had been dirty for 2 weeks, and I was totally fine with it being dirty until the moment I needed to sit down and just work. And the thing I kept missing wasn't really discipline, it wasn't a problem of that like any sort. I used to think it was, I just thought that I just need more willpower and more discipline, a better morning routine or the right system, and then I will be able to just sit down and focus for hours. But willpower is kind of a myth in this context, or at least it's way less useful than most people think it is. It's just that you potentially didn't really let your brain sit for a very long time through something uncomfortable. Every time something felt hard or uncertain, most people just pick up their phone and try to run away into it. And when you do that so many times so consistently, your brain learns this pattern, and then it doesn't really allow you to focus on anything that's slightly hard. So it was just that I had trained myself really thoroughly and over a long period of time to avoid the feeling of effortful thinking. So the fix wasn't really about the phone. The fix was about building more of that tolerance back. Now, before I give you the 7 things that actually move the needle, let's set the stage by going over some basic things to avoid doing at the start of the day to make sure you can actually focus throughout the day. Number 1, don't touch your phone in the morning, and this will make a lot of sense later when I give you the actual 7 steps formula, but touching your phone in the morning is the worst thing you can do for the baseline of your brain. So if you can spend the first 30 minutes of your day not looking into the feed or not checking your phone at all and just postpone it, it will have a massive difference for what we're about to do later. Step number 2, keep your morning completely low stimulation. No hard music for the first 2 hours of the morning, no texting girls, anything that's gonna spike up stimulation and make you feel super high will then leave you super distracted later on. Just wake up, move your body, go for a walk, eat some breakfast, get some coffee, whatever, but just low stimulation. Number 3, just avoid some carbs and sugar in the morning, and then that's gonna help us with what we're about to do right now. So what I wanna do right here is go a little bit deeper and give you 7 actionable things you can do right now to actually fix your focus. Again, most of them are things that I haven't really heard anyone talk about properly. The first one is something I started calling the warm-up task, and it took me embarrassingly long to figure this one out, but it makes so much sense. So for years, I would just sit down to work, open my laptop, and then try to do the hardest thing in front of me. And every single time I would obviously feel this weird resistance and lack of focus. But that's like going to the gym and then with 0 warm-up just jumping and maxing out your bench. It doesn't work. I eventually realized that your brain isn't a machine that you can just turn on right away. It needs a few minutes, specifically 3 minutes, in order to warm up before it can focus on harder tasks. The good news is that it's only 3 minutes. So what actually works is giving yourself 3 minutes of something that's related to the work but requires almost 0 effort. So if you're about to write something, then just spend 3 minutes reading a few paragraphs or writing a few super simple lines, anything that's extremely low effort just to warm up. If you're about to do some deep analytical work, then just spend a few minutes going over some of the basics. It's more like setting your brain into the right gear before you switch it on. Once I started doing this, the resistance that I used to feel when I would sit down to work and focus disappeared completely. Number 2, the second thing is about how you end your work sessions, not how you start them. And this one genuinely surprised me because most people, when they finish work, they just stop. Naturally, I'm done. They close the laptop and they just go do something else. But here's the thing that happens when you leave a task completely finished. Your brain kind of files it away and loses interest in it. Whereas if you stop in the middle of something, in the middle of a task, in the middle of a sentence, in the middle of a paragraph, your brain actually keeps on chewing on it on the background, even when you stop working. It's like leaving a book page open half through reading it, where your brain wants to go back, wants to continue that. So what I started doing deliberately is stopping my work session mid-session or mid-paragraph if I'm writing something. And what I noticed is that every time I would come back and sit down to work, getting started was much easier because my brain was already kind of warmed up to do that task, even if that task was mid-finished last night. It sounds weird and it feels like uncomfortable at first because you want to reach a natural stopping point, but that discomfort is actually the thing that makes it work. The third thing is about the environment you're working in, but not in a way you've probably heard before. Again, everyone talks about removing distractions, which, yeah, for some people it might work. But what I've found is that physical setup of your workspace sends signals to your brain about what mode it should be in. And most people's workspaces are sending mixed signals to their brains. So if you work at the same desk where you also watch YouTube, scroll through stuff, eat lunch, and do everything else, your brain doesn't really know what to do when you sit down there. It's not primed for anything in particular. What actually helps is creating what I'd call context anchor, which is basically just one or two small things that are only present when you're doing focused work. For me, it was like a specific mug that I only drink from when I'm working and nowhere else. And I'll also make a specific drink that I only drink when I'm trying to focus 100%. And of course, making sure I don't eat lunch or watch YouTube at my desk because that really confuses the brain. The fourth thing is one thing that is genuinely underrated, and it has to do with how you define what you're actually trying to do before you start. Most people sit down with a vague idea of what they're about to do. Oh, I need to finish this project, or I just need to write some script. And that vagueness is what kills your focus because your brain doesn't really know what the end goal looks like. It doesn't know where to point its direction to, so that's why you feel distracted. What I started doing instead is spending about 60 seconds before any work session writing down the single most specific thing I'm trying to accomplish in that session. Not a to-do list, just one sentence. Something like, I'm going to write one YouTube script for this YouTube video, or I'm going to reply to 5 clients on my email list. That level of being specific with a task gives your brain a specific target to aim for, and when your brain has a real target, it focuses a lot better. The wondering mostly happens when the target is fuzzy and you're not really sure how the end goal looks like. So before you start anything, just take a few minutes to go and define the specific goal of that task before you jump into it. The fifth thing is about something I noticed when I started paying attention to when I was actually doing my best work versus when I was just sitting at my desk pretending to work. So what I found is that there are actually specific hours in my day where everything just clicks and work feels like play. And there are only specific hours in the day when that happens. Work feels easier, ideas comes faster, I'm not fighting myself, and then outside of that window, it's like wading through mud. The mistake I was making in the past was treating all hours of the day the same, like they're all equal hours, but they're definitely not. And it really depends on the kind of human you are. But for me, that's the morning, somewhere between 6 a.m. and 10 a.m. And I started protecting those 4 hours like they are sacred. I don't reply to anyone on my phone. If the door rings, I'm not gonna stand up. Even if I want to go to the toilet, I would really try not to because I really don't want to get out of that zone, because I know that after 10 a.m. it will be really hard to get back into that mode. And you really need to experiment and see what those hours for you are. It usually is 2 to 4 hours, and that's the maximum where you can achieve 100 times more than just randomly scattering your work throughout the day. Again, the key thing is that this window is different for everyone, and it can even shift depending on what's going on in your life. Now, the sixth thing is something I call decision depth, and it's one of the biggest hidden drains on your ability to focus that nobody really talks about. So every small decision you make throughout the day, like what to eat, when to shower, where to go, what to have for drinks, what to wear, uses up a little bit of your mental bandwidth. And by the time you sit sit down to do something that actually requires focus, you've already spent a bunch of that bandwidth on unnecessary stuff. Now, the fix obviously isn't to just eliminate all other decisions. That's unrealistic. You still have to decide what to eat and what to wear. But what you can do is you can front load these decisions. So on Sunday evening or Monday morning, I'll spend about 20 minutes making as many decisions as I can for the week ahead. What I'm eating most of the days, what are going to be the priorities in the next few mornings throughout that week, and obviously what I'm not going to do. It sounds like a lot of planning, but it actually takes less time than most people think, and it obviously takes a lot less time than making those decisions on the fly throughout the week. And it also means that I show up to my work sessions a lot more clear, knowing exactly what the target is right away. The people I know who seem to have almost unlimited focus for hours on end are not necessarily more disciplined or energetic than most other people, or talented or smarter. They've just gotten really good at not wasting their mental bandwidth. Now, the seventh thing is probably the weirdest one, and it's about rest. But not in the way you're thinking. Most people think that rest just means I can sit on the couch doing nothing, watching TV, scrolling through my phone, scrolling Reddit, and that kind of rest feels good in the moment, but it actually feels you more scattered afterwards. What actually recharges you is what some researchers call effortless attention, which is basically just giving your brain something to engage with that doesn't require any decision making or goal directly thinking. The easiest version of that is to just go for a walk without a phone, or just sitting outside without a phone for 10 minutes. Not meditating, not trying to clear your mind, not doing any woo-woo stuff, literally just sitting down and looking around, like not doing anything, just looking at what's going on around, and that's it. I started doing this between work sessions instead of reaching for my phone, and the difference in how I felt going into the next session was pretty significant. The phone doesn't really rest your brain at all, and it also leaves you scattered. It's just a different kind of stimulation. These are small habits, but they really compound, and if you do this for the next 7 days, by the 7th day, you'll see how much more focus you have when you sit down to do something meaningful. Now, if you want to see what actually happens when you stop doom scrolling for 7 days straight, click on the next video that's on the screen right now.